God bless everybody today. It's February 1st of 2023. Not sure what happened to January, but it's already over and we're moving into the year. Things are moving quickly out here. I wanted to give you an update. I'm not trying to give you updates any more than I have to, but when things do happen out here that I think are important, I want to bring those things to your attention. And so let's do a quick review of what's happened in the last few days. Netanyahu is cracking down hard on the Palestinians. He has given them somewhat the green light to potentially shoot Palestinians. He's expediting gun permits to Israelis so that they have the ability to protect themselves. And so this is escalating quite heavily on the Palestinian-Israeli side. And Netanyahu is strengthening the settlements in the occupied areas, and so this is going to cause a lot of issues with the Palestinians as he starts to move into these areas and take them over. And like I said, he's evicting and he's destroying, demolishing homes and different things like that to resettle these areas. I mean, they're actually moving people out and putting Israeli Jewish people in those areas and things. So this is not going to end well, and this is just amplifying this every day as we move forward. And this report just shows that Israeli reportedly was behind the drone attack that hit the Iranian defense facilities. I believe there were 3 of them. And so this is also going to escalate the situation between Israel and Iran. And there's a number of players going on here, but this is just one of the pieces to this puzzle. And this is going to accelerate as we move forward, and Iran is getting closer and closer to a potential nuclear weapon that they can launch against Israel. And in this article, you can see that there's a lot of tension on the ground as these Palestinians are being removed, evicted, their homes are being demolished. Some of it is rightfully being done. Some of this is considered terrorist cells or terrorist groups or people, families of terrorists. There's a wide range of groups and peoples, and when the Palestinians are getting moved out, they're going to fight back. Israel's trying to reclaim their lands, and so they're fighting back. And so these areas are just going to inflame in a number of areas around Israel. And we've talked about those areas called the Golan Heights and Gaza and West Bank and Lebanon and Palestine, and all these different areas are going to be affected by this as we move forward. And like I said, this isn't just, them moving people out. They're actually demolishing these homes and resettling and rebuilding communities on top of them. So, and this is why Netanyahu's pushing back these borders to secure these areas, so once these people actually reoccupy these areas, they'll have safe zones, because otherwise the Palestinians are going to be constantly attacking them. And they are going to be constantly attacking them regardless. They're going to be attacking them on the ground and with rockets and missiles and different things like that. And this situation is not going to go away. And the more we see this escalate, the more this is going to become a problem for both sides. And there's tough rhetoric on both sides. Israel's vowing that they can destroy the nuclear facilities, which I don't totally agree that they can penetrate all these different facilities, knock out everything completely, and this isn't going to expand this war even more. And I've talked about Turkey coming into this picture before long, and so this is starting to cause a problem for Turkey, and we'll see that as we move forward. And in this article, you can see there was an airstrike along the Syrian-Iraqi border. It was a hit on a Iranian militia trucks, and it's basically a convoy. Says Tehran was using this crossing to ship weapons to Lebanon's Hezbollah, and claims 6 of the 25 trucks were hit, but no reported injuries. So just realize that there is a lot happening on the ground. Multiple different things have to be looked at when you're looking at these areas. Iraq and Syria are being squeezed between all this, and so they definitely matter in this equation. And in this article, we see that the EU is reconsidering listing Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. France and Germany endorsed this policy, and so we're going to see a lot of pushback on this as these nuclear talks break down and we start to see an escalation between Iran, Israel, Turkey, and all these different other nations in the Middle East, and how this is going to move forward. And this is going to escalate quickly. The prophecy indicates that it does. I can't give you an exact time frame, but as we can see, since the 3rd of January, this has escalated a lot in the last month, and I would expect it to just amplify and escalate more as we move forward, and it's going to be a quicker escalation as we move forward because there's a lot of players happening here, and something will break sooner or later, and I believe that will force Turkey into this war. And in this article, this takes us a little bit out of the Middle East, but it sort of works with everything else that's happening out here. And that's why I said this is reaching into multiple regions and different areas. They had a terrorist attack in Pakistan. This is, they're still counting potential deaths and the carnage that's happened in this. This was a terrible blast. The suicide bomber has killed over 100 people to this point, and maimed and hurt many, many others. And so this is just an ongoing story. And like I say, as all these different areas, and see, like I say, Afghanistan is going to be brought into this. Turkmenistan's part of this deal. Pakistan and India are nuclear powers, and so every time you bring in another country into these things, it just really gets intense. So you can sort of see where that blast was at. And like I say, this was an extremely harsh event, and it's indicated at this point there's been over 217 people injured in this article. So let's pray for those people. They can get some restitution, and there's a lot of people being affected, a lot of families being affected, both Christian and Muslims and others. And so I just wanted to bring you this article because I believe these articles reach out to other areas, but they do affect the Middle East quite tremendously. And on the 28th, this article indicates that Turkey alerts citizens to risk of attack in the United States, Europe, and this is on the heels of Western warnings. We're having Blinken just went over to Israel, and we're having all these different meetings with high-level executives in the different governments, and so they're trying to figure out how to de-escalate this, but as history goes, this won't de-escalate, and it will only escalate until something really does happen and one side retaliates to an extreme level to try to stop the attacks, and but I just don't think that's going to matter at this point. So. And we've also issued another warning to Turkey of a possible attack in Turkey itself, just as we had that bombing or a month a couple months ago in Istanbul. This is aiding into Turkey also, and so they're under constant guard of these terrorist attacks. They keep blaming the Kurdish on this, and that's possible. It is a lot of the Kurdish is doing this, but Turkey's pushing back on them, and so we're having a similar situation between the Palestinians and Israelis, as well as Turkey and the Kurds. And so, as you can see, this is escalating into a number of regions. And one thing I find really interesting is right before we had a number of attacks on Iran the other day, we had this earthquake on the border of Turkey and Iran, which tells me we're going to start to see a lot of things happen between Turkey and Iran. But then we just had this 6.3 magnitude earthquake in Pakistan, and then guess what? They just had this bombing. And so I don't know if there's a correlation there or not. It's just interesting that these earthquakes are hitting in the same areas that are being impacted by biblical prophecy at this time, at least in my opinion. And this is even radiating out to all the Muslim areas. This burning of the Quran by the Swedish, the Swedish government allowed this Quran to be burnt, has radiated out to even Indonesia and all these Muslim areas, and it's a total outrage for them, and they're not going to allow this to stand. Things are going to happen, and Sweden probably has put themselves in an extremely precarious position due to potential terrorist attack by multiple different groups from multiple different countries. And I know we're not hearing a lot about Turkey and how they're affecting Syria and Iraq, but they're constantly bombing these northern regions of these Kurdistan people, and these conflicts are going to increase and deepen, as the article indicates, and they are. Some of the articles I'm going to bring up here in the next few indicate just how this is starting to amplify against Turkey, and how they're going to impact this. And as I said, the prophecy of Daniel 8 and 10 indicate Turkey is going to be a major player. Now, I know everybody's talking about Russia, and Russia's involved with Iran, but Russia is entrenched in Ukraine, and they're getting ready to start another front. So if you believe that Russia is the problem, other than they're going to be a aid to Iran to secure nuclear components and different things like that, I would suspect that that isn't going to happen, that they're going to be in a real effect on the Middle East while they're entrenched up there, and they're calling up hundreds of thousands of people, and all their stuff's locked in as they're sending tanks into Europe, and potentially going to it is a major escalation into World War III, and even Putin's indicating that this is a war. But now we're starting to bring Turkey into this, and this is what the prophecy indicates in Daniel 10 and 8, is that Turkey would go against Iran before this is over. But Iran now, their Iran-backed militia, has claimed responsibility for attack on a Turkish base in northern Iraq. And so this is escalating, and I've said for a while, if you look at that prophecy, and I know I can't give you a specific time. I gave you the time of January 3rd that this would start, because that Daniel told us that he was distraught for 3 weeks. Then on the 24th, he has the vision, and then after that, Michael sent to war against Persia, and then Turkey sent after that. Now, I don't know the time frame of all that, but it looks to me like this is starting to play in Turkey's favor, that they're going to get into this war, and they're not going to allow Iran or Kurds or anyone to deal with them. And when you're up against their border here, they're going to effectively do something about this. And so Turkey is going to get into this real soon. And in this last article, because I want to make this fairly short. I'm trying to cut through some of the political stuff and just give you the basics of what's happening out here and how it's affecting this prophecy. That missile attack, or rocket attack, however you want to say it, 8 rockets were fired at the Turkish base in Iraq. And like I say, this deals with Kurds, it deals with Erbil, it deals with a lot of these different things. Erbil is extremely important because it's the Kurdish regional capital, and we have a green zone there. And if Erbil were to fall, and it's in the northern part of Iraq, that would then collapse the Kurdish government in this area. And like I said, then you would see Turkey push them southeast towards Baghdad and shush Iran towards the Tigris River and the Euphrates down there at the bottom, where those 2 rivers basically flow, which is between Baghdad and Shush. And so when those Kurds get pushed down into that area, it indicates through the prophecy that they would align, be forced to align. Actually, Turkey will force them to almost attack Iran, but then they sort of like join together, as history has forced them to do in the past, and they will both be up against Turkey, but Turkey will prevail based on the prophecy. And then once Iran would fall, we would see then Turkey start to move towards Egypt and form 10 nations to head to Israel by the end of 23. So God bless everybody. I just wanted to bring these articles to you. This is moving quickly. I will try to update every day or two as things move forward, but I don't want to put too much out here. Basically, it's the same information. The prophecy is never going to change. It is written in stone. And so we need to watch the prophecy and see how modern day events are playing out in real time and how that's affecting us today. God bless everybody. Find the open door. Find Jesus. Put a lot of oil in your lamp. Things are going to break soon, and when they do, you will not have that ability to go out and find things as easily as you do now, and the cost of it will be much higher. So please go out and do what's necessary to take care of your family and the people you care about. You need to think about water. You need to think about food. You need to think about hygiene. You need to think about warmth. You need to think about medicines and things that you're going to need, and it's going to be a whole lot easier to procure these things now than in the next few months or potentially a year as this breaks down. And if we have a potential war with China and Taiwan, that will also impact this tremendously as we move forward. Today is a large day in the markets. The Fed is probably going to raise rates again, and so we'll see how that impacts the markets today also. And earnings have not been necessarily great out here, and so the markets are reacting to that. Even though they've been rising, they've been parabolic. There will be a retracement, and it's usually 50%. And in this case, if there is a potential crash, the second leg could happen, and we could see a potential 30% down on that leg. And so there could be a fairly large drop in the next few weeks as we move forward. And we start to get a lot of, everything's knee-jerk out here. So when you start to look at the markets, they're reacting to everything. And right now they believe that the Fed is going to pivot, which I don't believe they can, or they've lost this battle. And so once Jerome Powell comes out today and basically reassures the markets again, they're not listening to him, and he's not going to pivot, and they're going to keep raising rates, and this isn't going to change throughout this year into 20 until we get to 24, and then they reassess the situation again. This isn't going to change. So God bless. Have a great night.